Hi, Wendy. Oh, are you driving? Okay, I'll do voice. I'll do
Yeah,
voice
I'm
call.
okay. Wait, wait. It's very safe, but it's okay.
Okay. Is that your
So what we're
boy?
gonna talk about? Today we're gonna talk about writing, right?
Okay. Um.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you're driving. Are you going to another event?
No, 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 no. Today is Sunday. Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So, yesterday it was Saturday, and my friend and I went to hot spring. Hot spring.
Oh, hot springs. Nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then so we stayed there for the night, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I have something to know with you, and then that's always another one. So I need to
Okay.
go back home
Okay.
before 9 o'clock.
I see. I see.
Um,
Okay. And are you okay driving and on the phone? Are you fine with that?
yeah, my son is in my car.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
No,
I
and
have it in my.
hi.
Hi.
So is it okay if you drive and use WeChat?
Yeah,
It's fine
it's
for you?
okay.
Okay.
No problem. No problem. No problem.
Okay,
Don't
sure.
worry.
So yeah, I just wanted to pick up on our conversation from last weekend when we were talking about the different ways of like practicing a foreign language. Um,
Hmm.
I think one of the things we were talking about was dialogue, and I think like dialogue is important. It's important for learners to understand how people interact with each other. um,
Yeah.
but the thing is that like when you learn a dialogue, I think it's important to really understand the reason why people say things that the way they say it. So, for example, if you're reading an English dialogue and then someone says a sentence, you have to understand why they say the sentence that way. And sometimes you don't get that from a textbook. You need a native speaker to tell you, oh, we say this because, and stuff like that. So I think like dialogues are important to practice, but you should be practicing those dialogues with a native speaker so that they can explain what the dialogue means. The meaning behind every sentence, because every sentence can have a different meaning based on how you say it. So I think it's really important um, practicing that way.
Yeah. Yes. Can we? Last day we talk about writing, right? You
Writing.
remember?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, writing. Okay. How to teach writing? Okay, according to your understanding, because in my place, we don't know, we really don't know how to cross writing or result oriented writing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think like writing that's one of the challenging parts of like learning a language, especially because it's a whole new, I guess, alphabet, a whole new system from your mother language. So I think that like the first step is definitely learning the rules of writing. Like how to spell certain words, the sentence structure, right? Like the
Yeah.
subject verb, and all that stuff. But I think it's important for people to learn it in their mother language. So like if you want to learn how to write English, then Chinese students should be taught by Chinese teachers, so that they can explain it to them in Chinese, so they can understand the rules in their own native language. Um, so I think that
So,
like that's
how do you
that's the first
think?
step.
Yeah, how do you think that nowadays a lot of teachers just invite foreign teachers
Hmm.
to have bilingual classes
Can you say that one more time?
in the back. Bilingual classes.
Hmm.
Have you heard of that? Bilingual classes.
Uh huh. So you're saying like
Yeah.
you think that there should be bilingual classes?
Now, what do you think of that? Is
I
more
think
effective or
I don't know. I don't really think it is. I really think that like, certain the different type of skills should be taught in different languages. So like, I think writing should be taught in your mother language, right? So if you're Chinese, then learn all the writing in like learn all of the rules. But like a Chinese teacher can teach you all the writing skills that you need for English. But if you want to learn more of the conversation aspect of a language, then you should be learning that through the actual language itself. So you should be learning it in English and not in Chinese. Um, so I think that like bilingual, I'm not sure how effective it is, but I think that like, for different skills, you can either learn it in your mother language or you can learn it in your target language. I definitely think writing can be taught in your mother language, but
yeah,
conversation
but
needs to be taught in English.
yeah, how to yeah, but I think for the oral classes, okay, for the oral conversations, if it can be taught by foreign teachers, would be fantastic, right?
Yeah, yeah, that would be. But then that is difficult because I think that like, um, with the oral classes, I think like oral classes should definitely start from like very simple oral communication, and it should keep advancing into more complex conversations. Like for example, like when students are just learning English conversation, they should be learning about like maybe how to dress up. Like, oh, I wear my blue shirt to school and then I ate the red apple and stuff like that, just to get like the basic structure of conversation going first. And then, after they're comfortable doing those type of things, then, they should elevate to a higher level of conversation where they can start talking about um, like, oh, on my birthday, I want to get a brand new bike, or this is what I did for my summer trip, stuff like that. And then once they start getting comfortable with that, then they can start talking about things that they feel and things that they think. Like, oh, I think that we can stop global warming if we do this or do that or do this, or I think that we can save more animals if we do. So I think that like it's definitely a gradual process. You have to start from like basic English first, and then keep working up and up and up. So I think that like with conversation, you can definitely teach it in just English, but start with English that all of the students know. So start with the basic English first, and then once the students get comfortable, then you can start increasing the level of English in the class.
Yeah, sure. For learning English, I mean, like learning writing process, great is important, especially if you have no vocabulary, you
Hmm.
cannot start conversation, and you cannot understand anything what others are talking about.
Yeah.
So that's the foundation. That's the foundation, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because like if you like that, and that's why I think it's important to teach conversation in English in that language. Because if the students keep hearing Chinese or whatever, then they're not gonna get used to hearing English. So that's why they have to like their brain is
Yeah.
gonna get really used to it. And then just start with like the basic vocabulary that they know, and once they get comfortable with that, then they can start learning more like new vocabulary that they can use. And I think that's the most important thing is like when you learn a new word or you learn new vocabulary, it's really really important to try to use it as much as you can when you first learn it, because if you don't, then you're gonna just really just forget about it after like a week of not using it. So it's like really important, like once they learn a new word like building or I don't know, motorcycle, like they should definitely try to use it like throughout the first few days of learning it, in conversation, so that it just sticks.
Yeah, we answer your question. That is, I know you want to learn the second foreign language, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you think if we are learning a second language, it is better for the teachers to to give classes in 100% of the languages that he or she is learning?
So you said projects?
So not projects. For example, uh, so I'm learning Chinese English, right?
Uh-huh.
So when I'm teaching my kids English, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when I'm teaching them, so in the class I just speak English, no Chinese, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is this a very good way or just teaching some certain little language, to make students understand? So I think to create a flexible learning environment is very good for them.
Yeah.
So that according to the linguistics, right, immersive learning is very, very important. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
immersive learning, So try to create this learning environment for them. But the problem is that in China,
Uh-huh.
many Chinese teachers, their English is not that good, and they think, oh, I speak some certain Chinese in my class, so that in
Uh,
this way, this is better. So how do you, yeah, how do you think of this phenomenon?
wow. See, that's a difficult situation because I think that, like, especially in that situation where, the Chinese teachers, they don't really have native um, a native skill set of the language. It might hurt the students because if the teacher is trying to speak in that language, then the students might pick up how the teacher speaks English, and then that's probably not the best way of speaking English, and then they're gonna pick up those bad habits, and because of that, it's gonna be hard for them to really learn English properly because they learned it incorrectly when they were younger. When they were younger, learning from their Chinese teachers. So I think that, like, if that is the case where, like, the Chinese teacher maybe has some type of understanding of the English language, I think it's better for them to just maybe teach it in Chinese and have and then have, like, the students try to kind of like find find like an outside source where they can practice good English conversation skills. Because if they try to learn it from the teacher who you know doesn't have the best conversation skills, maybe the teacher might teach them the wrong way of using English in conversation. So it's better for the teacher not to teach them incorrectly. So the teacher should teach them, like, writing and all the rules of the language, and then they should say, okay, now I want you to try to practice conversation, um, maybe with a conversation coach or something like that. And I know, like, everybody can't afford to have outside English conversation classes, but I think it's better to learn it the right way, the proper way, rather than learn it the wrong way and then have to relearn it all over again. So I think that in that case, if the teacher doesn't have a strong skill in conversation, I don't think that they should be teaching conversation in their class.
Yeah, not everyone. It's just a small portion of the
Mm-hmm.
entire for the outcome. Is, to be honest, it's
Yeah.
kids from the rural areas. Rural
Mm.
areas, they do not have too many resources to channels or resources to learn the language. Yeah,
Right.
outcome. The many channels that learning is in the learning language is from the class.
Class.
So
Okay.
the teacher at this level quickly commit, the student learning environment.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my job is to first improve myself and improve all the teachers.
Well, I guess, like, if the teachers don't have a strong conversation skill set, maybe they can play audio in their class and have the students maybe just repeat what they hear in the audio, and the teacher can like help them pronounce certain words, pronounce certain sounds, stuff like that. I think the teacher can do. Um, but yeah, so I think like if the
Yeah.
teacher doesn't have their own skill set, they can just bring in outside skill set. Maybe like they can start listening to a conversation and stuff like that.
I do agree with you, but the problem is that some teachers are not that hardworking. So
Yeah.
to actually to activate the inner learning motivation
Mhm.
is also very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, let me tell you something about the situation. The real situation is that uh, in the in the past years, okay, the teachers, yeah, don't get the same salary as the clerk, official clerk, right?
Uh huh.
Official clerk. Yeah, so I think it's unfair that from last year on, they get the same salary and the same income as
Mhm.
people who work for the government. So this is that's fantastic, that's better, okay, that's better. So this is yeah.
Ah, I see.
Um, well, work harder, yeah, really. I don't know. Yeah, have you ever been? You have been talking with other from other countries? Do you know if there is a same phenomenon?
I'm
Like
not sure. I'm not
from
sure if there's this. I don't know if the same situation is happening in other countries, but yeah, I think that would affect teachers, and so they would feel yeah, it would affect the teachers, and I think that yeah, I think like you have a very difficult job, to try to fix the situation and make the teachers more effective in the classroom. Um, Cause like
more what?
yeah,
Sorry, more what?
more I said effective in the classroom, because
Effective, right?
yeah, effective. I think that like they don't necessarily need to be good, like even if they don't speak English like properly or like a native speaker, if they're able to hear when the student is talking and correct the student, then I think that that's still good enough. If they say, "Oh, J- uh, Billy, you pronounced the A incorrectly. This is how you're supposed to pronounce the A in the word apple." If teachers can do that, if they can like listen to the students carefully and really pay attention to each student, then I think that will still be good. But I'm not sure if that's the case. I think that like when students make mistakes, I don't even think that the teachers realize that the student made a mistake. And then because of that, then the students keep making that same mistake and over and over and over again, and that it becomes a habit, right? And then now the student is stuck with that habit of mispronouncing words, right? So that's why it's really important for those teachers who are teaching young students to really, really, really listen to those students and like pay attention to those students when they're young, so that they can fix those mistakes before it becomes a bad habit, you know?
Could you just repeat what you said just now? 15 times.
Oh, I said like the teachers are very important because they're the ones who are going to fix the bad habits. So if the teachers don't fix the bad habits, it's going to stick with the student, and the student is going to continue making those mistakes over and over and over again until they're adults, right? So it's important for the teachers now to help the students when they're young, right? When they're young and they're just learning the language, to fix their mistakes
Yeah.
now.
Yes, yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So I think you have a
actually,
you have a you have a very tough situation, but I think you can change the situation there.
Yeah, just gradually. It's a gradual process. As
Yeah.
you mentioned, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the numbers of the teachers, okay,
Mhm.
is very large. Yeah,
Right.
not but just um, different different people have different situations. So some of them are very active. Some
Mhm.
of them are very curious about knowledge. Yeah, really
Right.
curious about knowledge. Yeah, they really want to improve themselves. Yeah, but some of them, yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah. Oh, life is we should not make